No one can forget the ship Moya and the warriors who created the legend of Farscape, but for the cast, that journey ended with a chain of tragedies. One lost his family to addiction, another sank into depression, and one more has had to live with illness for life. Join us as we uncover the truth behind the screen, and you won't believe that this was really their fate. Melissa Jaffer as Utu Noranti Pralatong. Melissa Jaffer was born on December 1, 1936 in Gladstone, South Australia. At the age of 63, she played Utu Noranti Pralatong, a mysterious old woman with strange potions and an unpredictable personality in Farscape, 1999. The character of Noranti became the bizarre yet warm soul of the Moya ship, reflecting in many ways the real life of this veteran actress. Melissa's only marriage lasted more than 2 decades, but was filled with tension and tears. Her husband, a talented theater producer, always wanted her to quit acting to take care of the family, while Melissa considered art her reason for living. Eventually, they reached their breaking point and divorced in the early 1980s. She later admitted, "I lost a part of my soul." With no children and no family beside her, she sank into silence and a loneliness that no one could truly understand. After the divorce, illness began to surround her. Heart attacks, chronic arthritis, and insomnia tormented her, sending her to the hospital many times. Her declining health forced Melissa to turn down many major roles, occasionally returning only for supporting parts such as the Keeper of the Seeds in Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015. Today, at 89 years old, Melissa Jaffer still lives in Australia, sometimes appearing on local stages as a final source of comfort. Her net worth is estimated at around $800,000, enough for a quiet life, but not enough to escape illness and loneliness in her twilight years. Jonathan Hardy as Dominar Raelee XVI. Jonathan Hardy was born on October 20th, 1940, in Auckland, New Zealand. In 1999, at the age of 59, he joined Farscape as the voice of Dominar Raelee XVI, the deposed, tiny ruler of the Hynerian Empire, a character both greedy and bitter yet deeply human. His shrill, arrogant, and darkly humorous voice transformed Raelee into one of the show's irreplaceable souls, a figure audiences could both hate and love at the same time. But behind the lights, Jonathan's marriage of more than 40 years to an Australian stage designer was full of turbulence. They fell in love through art, but it was the stage itself that eventually divided them. Long tours through England and Australia kept them apart for months, sometimes even years. Loneliness, family responsibilities, and professional pressure turned their shared home into a space filled with silence and resentment. In his later years, illness and emotional pain slowly broke him down. His son fell into addiction during the 1990s, a shock that plunged Jonathan into depression. Under mounting strain from both marriage and career, he underwent heart surgery and endured years of fighting cancer before finally collapsing. In his final months, he suffered excruciating pain and could no longer return to the stage. Sadly, Jonathan Hardy passed away on July 30th, 2012 in Hilltop, New South Wales, at the age of 71. He died from severe infection complications after leg surgery just months before he was set to return to the stage in a long-planned project. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $1.5 million, mostly from the screenplay Breaker Morant and his immortal role as Raelee. Kent McCord as Jack Crichton. Kent McCord was born on September 26, 1942, in Los Angeles, USA. He was 57 years old when he played Jack Crichton, the calm and proud NASA father of John Crichton in Farscape, 1999. Though the character appeared only briefly, he provided deep emotional resonance, the heart and memory within a cold world of science fiction. Although Kent's marriage to Cynthia Lee Doty has lasted for 63 years, behind it lay many ups and downs. In the 1970s, when the glory of Adam 12 faded, Kent struggled with financial hardship and the pressure of raising 3 children. The suffocating atmosphere of Hollywood and constant disagreements about family roles nearly led them to divorce several times. Yet perseverance and loyalty helped them overcome it all, growing old together in quiet love. After the turbulent years of marriage, illness arrived as a new test. Kent suffered from severe heart disease, underwent bypass surgery in 2005, and has been dependent on medication ever since. His weakened body forced him to step away from the set, retiring from the arts after more than half a century of dedication. Now, Kent McCord, now 83 years old, lives in California with his wife and occasionally appears at Farscape fan events. He still carries the same calm demeanor and warm gaze of a father in the vast universe. His net worth is estimated at $1.3 million, mostly from film royalties and small real estate investments, enough for a peaceful old age. Virginia Hay as Pa'u Zoto John. Virginia Hay was born on June 19, 1952, in Sydney, Australia. At 47, she transformed into Pa'u Zoto John in Farscape, 1999, the blue-skinned Delvian priestess, a soul both gentle and fierce, willing to sacrifice herself for others. That image of devotion mirrored Virginia's own sacrifice, as the toxic makeup used for the role forced her to leave the series early due to kidney damage. Behind her otherworldly beauty lay a life marked by heartbreak. Virginia married at 21, but the marriage lasted only 6 months. Her husband couldn't bear her rise to fame as a model, and they parted ways bitterly. From then on, she avoided marriage, though she experienced several stormy romances with rock stars Michael Hutchence and John Taylor. The more famous she became, the lonelier she felt. But the cruelest blow came later. In 2022, Virginia was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer attacking her lymphatic system and bones. She fought for months through chemotherapy, stem cell transplants, and full-body radiation, enduring agony, hair loss, and bone fractures. Today, Virginia Hay is 73 years old and lives in London after years of treatment. She moves with crutches, sometimes needing a wheelchair, but still handcrafts candles and perfumes to sell online, a way to stay connected to the world. Although she continues her small business, the cost of medical care has consumed nearly all her wealth, now estimated at around $1 million, mostly from Farscape and Mad Max 2. Lonni Tupu as pilot and Captain Bialar Kreis. Lonni Tupu was born on November 4, 1955, in Auckland, New Zealand. At 44, he joined Farscape, 1999, in dual roles, voicing the multi-armed creature pilot, the biological soul bonded to the ship Moya throughout 88 episodes, and portraying Captain Bialar Kreis, the ruthless commander who later became Crichton's unlikely ally. These two opposite characters mirrored Lonni Tupu himself, strong and determined, yet carrying a profound inner loneliness. Lanni's 30-year marriage to an Australian producer was once seen as a safe harbor, but eventually turned suffocating under the pressures of migration and cultural conflict. Moving from New Zealand to Australia in the 1980s, when his career was still uncertain, often led to disagreements about finances and direction. In 2010, after their only son fell into addiction, the family broke apart. Since then, Lonni has lived quietly, keeping away from media attention. The mental strain worsened his chronic arthritis. During the filming of Farscape, Lonni often had to pause production due to severe pain caused by the heavy costume and complex movements required for pilot. The illness limited his mobility, and at times he relied on strong painkillers just to keep working. Now, at 70 years old, Lonni Tupu lives in Sydney, Australia, working mainly as a director and acting coach for younger generations. Though his health has declined, he still lends his voice and writes stage scripts whenever possible. His net worth is estimated at around $900,000, mostly from Farscape and supporting roles in Hercules. Ben Browder as John Crichton, Ben Browder was born on December 11, 1962, in Memphis, Tennessee. At 37, he took on the role of John Crichton, the Earth astronaut lost in space in Farscape, 1999. Over 88 episodes, Crichton became both the heart and soul of the show, and Browder lived that role fully, with passion, intelligence, and a deep loneliness that reflected his own real-life struggles. Behind the dazzling success lay a marriage full of challenges. Ben married Francesca Buller, his co-star and classmate from London, in 1989, and they had 2 children. When Farscape exploded in popularity, they relocated to Australia, far from family and friends. The long shooting schedules, the pressure of fame, and Francesca's smaller roles in the same series fueled tension. In 2000, they nearly divorced, but ultimately chose to stay together, for their children and for their belief that love could outlast distance. Yet after Farscape ended in 2003, Ben fell into a severe emotional crisis. Joining Stargate SG-1 kept him acting, but the pressure of stepping into a leading role weighed heavily, driving him into depression and insomnia. Eventually, prolonged stress forced him to take a break from acting for several years, focusing instead on writing and directing as a way to heal himself. Now, Ben Browder is 63 years old and lives peacefully in California with Francesca and their 2 children. He occasionally appears at Comic-Con conventions, writes independent screenplays, and recently made a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy, 2025. His net worth is estimated at about $3 million, largely from Farscape, Stargate, and his screenwriting projects. Claudia Black as Aaron's son. Claudia Black was born on October 11, 1972, in Sydney, Australia. At 27 years old, she transformed into the peacekeeper warrior Aaron's son in Farscape, 1999, a character who was cold, disciplined, and gradually learned how to love amid war and loneliness. Across 88 episodes, Claudia turned Aaron into the emotional core of the series, strong yet wounded, earning the admiration and deep empathy of audiences around the world. Behind that brilliant success was a quietly broken marriage. Claudia married Jamie Thurkettle in 2004, and together they had 2 sons, Odin and Vigo. However, constant filming, frequent travel between Australia and the United States, and differences in parenting gradually drove them apart. In 2013, they divorced. She then suffered from months of insomnia, unable to act, and once believed she would never be able to love again. The shock of divorce led her to meditation and therapy, beginning a healing journey that would last nearly a decade. After the separation, Claudia was diagnosed with chronic anxiety disorder. Panic attacks forced her to step away from recording sessions several times while working on Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Yet it was this very work in voice acting that saved her. The career allowed her to rebuild herself, earning a strong reputation and becoming an icon of female empowerment in the gaming world. Today, at 53 years old, Claudia Black lives in Los Angeles, working on voice projects such as Uncharted and Gears of War 5. Though she still monitors her mental health, she has found peace alongside her 2 sons and in teaching emotional acting techniques. Her net worth is estimated at around $1.2 million. Anthony Simcoe as Ka Dargo. Anthony Simcoe was born on May 30, 1969, in Sydney, Australia. In 1999, at the age of 30, he joined Farscape as Ka Dargo, the fierce yet loyal Luxan warrior. With his nearly 2-meter frame and deep, commanding voice, Anthony brought to life a rugged hero, both intense and compassionate, making Dargo one of the most beloved characters of the entire series. But in real life, Anthony faced the collapse of his marriage. He married actress Roxanne McDonald in 2005, and they had 2 sons. After a few happy years, work pressures and alcohol began to destroy everything, Prolonged drinking and nights of loss of control caused Anthony to lose his family's trust. In 2012, Roxanne filed for divorce, and the court temporarily revoked his custody rights. The emotional breakdown that followed led to a period of deep depression. Anthony withdrew from public life, dedicating his time to rehabilitation and recovery from alcoholism. During treatment, his depression forced him to leave the stage for a long time, returning only once he had truly regained his balance. In 2025, Anthony Simcoe is 56 years old and lives in Sydney, and occasionally appears in crime dramas or independent film projects. He spends most of his time with his two sons, teaching acting and playing music with his band Signal Room, which he co-founded during the Farscape years. His net worth is estimated at around $1 million. Wayne Pyram as Scorpius. Wayne Pyram was born on October 13, 1959, in Cootamundra, Australia. At 40 years old, he joined Farscape, 1999, as Scorpius, the intelligent villain, half peacekeeper and half Scaran, the sworn enemy of John Crichton. With a face as cold as steel, piercing eyes, and a hissing voice, Wayne turned Scorpius into one of the most terrifying and complex antagonists in television history during the 2000s. Behind that powerful role lay a life burdened with trials. Wayne married Leanne in 1985, and their relationship has lasted nearly 40 years, though it has always been marked by tension due to their son's autism. In the 1990s, just as his career was rising, Wayne and his wife took turns staying up at night to care for their child, leaving both exhausted and nearly separated. Love and responsibility trapped him in a painful conflict between art and family. Adding to that struggle, Wayne developed chronic herniated discs during the filming of Farscape. The heavy suits weighing dozens of kilograms and the daily 4-hour makeup sessions worsened his back pain to the point that he had to take painkiller injections just to keep performing. The pain became his lifelong companion for 2 decades, forcing him to abandon action roles and shift to teaching music, video game voice work, and stage directing. Now, at 66 years old, Wayne Pyram lives quietly in Sydney, teaching percussion at the Riverina Conservatorium of Music, and occasionally lending his voice to video games like High on Life. His net worth is estimated at around $800,000, mainly from Farscape and his music-related work. David Franklin as Captain Miklo Braca. David Franklin was born on March 7, 1962, in Melbourne, Australia. At 37 years old, he took on the role of Captain Miklo Braca, Scorpius's loyal subordinate in Farscape, 1999. His character symbolized ambition mixed with fear, a man constantly walking the fine line between loyalty and betrayal. Through subtle acting and a wary gaze, David made Braca the last survivor amid a world of chaos and shifting power. Yet behind the spotlight, David faced a quiet family crisis. In 2005, after 15 years of marriage, he divorced, the result of long years spent away from home while filming. The breakup was not publicized, but it left him in prolonged loneliness, channeling all his energy into work as a way to escape emotional pain. Beyond that isolation, David has lived with chronic asthma since childhood. Filming in enclosed studios and enduring heavy makeup often led to severe breathing problems that sent him to the hospital several times. The illness made him realize his physical limits early, prompting his eventual retreat from the screen to focus on teaching and directing. In 2025, at 63 years old, David Franklin is a film professor at a university in Sydney and is completing his directorial debut, a film exploring loneliness in the modern world. His net worth is estimated at around $700,000, mostly from Farscape, Xena, Warrior Princess, and his academic work. Gigi Edgley as Chiana. Gigi Edgley was born on November 16, 1977, in Perth, Australia. At 22 years old, she joined Farscape, 1999, as Chiana, the rebellious, daring, and seductive Nabari thief who appeared in 76 episodes. With her silver hair and dark, mysterious eyes, her character brought a raw, human edge to rebellion, making Chiana one of the most unforgettable icons of the series. But behind the spotlight, Gigi faced her own emotional struggles. She never married, but had a nearly 10-year relationship with a music producer she once called her soul twin. That relationship ended quietly and tearfully in 2015. The heartbreak plunged Gigi into depression. She stayed indoors for months, underwent treatment for anxiety, and slowly learned how to love herself again. After Farscape, Gigi turned to music as a form of healing. She wrote, sang, and self-produced songs about freedom and pain, melancholic tracks steeped in solitude. Through music, she rediscovered her voice. She also appeared in Rescue, Special Ops, and everything in between, earning critical praise for her emotionally layered performances that reflected the depth of someone who had truly walked through darkness. In 2025, at 48 years old, Gigi Edgley lives in Sydney, continuing to perform music and attend science fiction conventions around the world. Her net worth is estimated at about $5 million, primarily from her acting, singing, and personal brand. Paul Goddard as Stark. Paul Goddard was born on December 12, 1963, in Sydney, Australia. In 1999, at the age of 36, he took on the role of Stark, the deranged Bannique spiritualist in Farscape. With his trembling voice and haunted eyes, Paul created a character who was both tragic and terrifying, mirroring a deep inner turmoil that, few knew, also existed in his real life. Paul's marriage lasted nearly 2 decades, but by 2008, everything fell apart. After years of strain from filming, touring, and teaching acting, his wife filed for divorce, leaving an emptiness that nothing could fill. The shock pushed him into depression, and for several years, he almost completely withdrew from the screen. Depression required long-term treatment. Paul began writing music and practicing meditation to regain stability. His album 2 A.M. Flight, 2007, was born as a sincere confession of his transformation. Yet it was precisely this pain that helped him rediscover artistic depth. When he returned to stage and screen, he brought with him an extraordinary empathy, giving every performance a sense of true soul. Now, at 62 years old, Paul Goddard lives in Sydney, working as a performing arts instructor and corporate communication coach. He continues to compose music and occasionally attends Farscape conventions. His net worth is estimated at around $600,000. Like Stark, Paul continues his own journey toward inner peace, where old wounds slowly turn into light. Tammy Macintosh as Julushko Tunai Fentahovalis. Tammy Macintosh was born on February 16, 1970, in Perth, Australia. When she joined Farscape in 1999 at the age of 29, she portrayed Jewel, an arrogant yet vulnerable Interian scientist. Over 21 episodes, her character evolved from a frightened, self-centered woman into a strong and compassionate figure, a transformation that would later mirror Tammy's own life journey. After Farscape ended, Tammy became a familiar face on Australian television through All Saints and Wentworth. Yet behind the lights came harsh challenges. Her marriage to Mark Yates in 2005 seemed peaceful at first, but life changed dramatically when their son, Benjamin, was diagnosed with autism. Tammy once confessed, "There were times I didn't know if I was an actress or just a mother trying to keep everything from falling apart." Years of exhaustion eventually damaged her thyroid, forcing her to undergo long-term hormone treatment. Still, Tammy refused to give up. She continued to act, sing in theater productions, and actively campaign for mental health and autism awareness. Her role as Kaz Proctor in Wentworth, 2015 to 2019, earned her widespread respect, though she admitted, "The violent scenes made me cry when I got home." Torn between pain and duty, Tammy chose to keep living through her art as a form of release. In 2025, at 55 years old, Tammy Macintosh lives in Sydney with her husband and son. She recently returned to television in Home and Away as Deborah Fowler after a 6-year hiatus. Though her net worth is only around $1 million, Tammy proudly says, "I don't have much money, but I have a child who taught me patience, and a career that taught me gratitude." Raelee Hill as Sikozu Shanu. Raelee Hill was born on October 24, 1972 in Adelaide, Australia. At 27 years old, she appeared in Farscape, 1999, as Sikozu, a sharp, intelligent Kalish woman constantly fighting to survive in a chaotic universe. Across 26 episodes, Sikozu became a symbol of intellect and pride, and Raelee's cool yet captivating presence made her unforgettable to audiences. After Farscape, Raelee established herself as a steady figure in Australian television, appearing in Water Rats, Neighbours, and After the Verdict. Yet behind her stable career lay a lingering loneliness. She once had a passionate relationship that lasted over 10 years with a theater director, but they separated in 2018. In an interview, Raelee admitted, "When the lights went out, I realized I had forgotten how to love myself." After the breakup, she withdrew from the spotlight, spending much of her time meditating and writing scripts as a form of therapy. Unlike many of her peers, Raelee never chased fame. She chose a quieter life, occasionally performing on stage, acting in independent films, and teaching acting to young students. The role of Sikozu seems to have followed her throughout her life, a symbol of resilience and independence. Today, at 53 years old, Raelee Hill still lives in Australia, focusing on theater and her small circle of family and friends. Though her net worth is estimated at around $800,000, she is content with the balance she has found. "I used to think happiness was being noticed," she said, "but now I understand that sometimes happiness is simply being silent in your own room." Francesca Buller as Minister Akna. Francesca Buller was born on January 20, 1964, in London, England. In 1999, at the age of 35, she appeared in Farscape as Minister Akna, the ruthless Scarran war minister and direct adversary of John Crichton in Season 4. With her cold gaze and commanding presence, Francesca turned Akna into a symbol of cruelty mixed with pride. Yet behind the warrior's mask was a marriage story filled with jealousy and hardship. Francesca married actor Ben Browder, the very man who played Crichton, her on-screen enemy but real-life husband. In the early years, Ben's career soared rapidly, while Francesca struggled to find her place in Hollywood. She once admitted, "It's hard when your partner is celebrated while you're standing on the sidelines in the dark." Professional jealousy and career imbalance once drove them to live apart for a short time. But over the years, they learned to see things differently, no longer as two competing actors, but as two people standing together against the harsh pressures of Hollywood. What made Francesca different was her perseverance. Even after stepping away from fame, she remained deeply connected to theater, where she performed Hamlet and The Merchant of Venice alongside Dustin Hoffman, earning the Helen Hayes Award for her portrayal of Ophelia. When she wasn't acting, she taught drama and attended Farscape conventions, often saying that the series saved my marriage because it forced us to be on the same ship together. In 2025, at 61 years old, Francesca Buller lives peacefully in Los Angeles with her husband, Ben Browder, spending most of her time with family and writing independent screenplays. Their combined net worth is estimated at around $2 million, partly from television projects and joint investments. No longer the fierce Akna, Francesca today is a woman who has faced jealousy, known defeat, and still chosen love, and chosen to stay. Those who once traveled among the stars now face the darkness within their own lives. After all the glory and heartbreak, which actor's story surprised you the most? Tell us which Farscape star you remember best. And don't forget to like and subscribe to discover more untold tragedies behind Hollywood's brightest lights.